U.S. Justice Department Civil Rights Unit faces mass exodus. The U.S. Justice Department's office tasked with protecting people's civil rights has lost 368 employees since President Donald Trump took office, in a mass exodus that has coincided with a dramatic policy shift away from its historical mission of protecting marginalized populations. The staffing decrease at the Civil Rights Division, disclosed on Wednesday in its congressional memo from U.S. Senator Peter Welch, represents an unprecedented exodus of career officials who usually remain in their roles from administration to administration, regardless of political party. He said DOJ provided the figures to his office on July 15th. Prior to Trump's inauguration, the division employed more than 400 attorneys. Reuters could not determine how many of the departed 368 officials worked as attorneys as opposed to other roles such as office support staff. Of those who left, 270 took the government's deferred retirement program, while 98 resigned. Welch, a Democrat from Vermont, released the figures ahead of a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearing on Wednesday where Harmeet Dillon, Trump's head of the Civil Rights Division, testified before members of Congress for the first time since her confirmation hearing in February. In his memo, Welch said that since Trump took office in January, the Civil Rights Division has disregarded its statutory responsibilities to enforce laws that prohibit discrimination and had enabled civil rights violations to be committed against people and institutions as part of Trump's political agenda. The question before this Congress is whether we are going to save the Civil Rights Division or we're going to destroy it, Welch said on Wednesday. The Civil Rights Division's mandate dates back to the passage of the 1957 Civil Rights Act, which was initially enacted to protect the rights of Black people by undoing discriminatory Jim Crow segregation, enforce people's voting rights, and pursue hate crime cases. Congress has expanded the division's responsibility over the years to include protecting Americans from discrimination on the basis of race, national origin, sex, disability, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, and military status. Dillon has upended the division's traditional enforcement priorities and refocused them on Trump's directives, mandating such actions as curbing the use of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, banning transgender youth from playing on sports teams that do not align with their birth gender, and prohibiting transgender youth from accessing gender-affirming care. Wow, 2 of these 3 are anti-trans stuff, bro. That's crazy. It's like just such a not serious issue too, right? There are so few trans athletes out there that it's just, I don't know. It's just so, it is like the pure definition of like distract them with unimportant bullshit so we can sneak in the really bad, serious stuff in the back when they aren't paying attention. It is the purest example of that because it's just not a serious issue. There are just so few trans athletes out there that why to be doing something this big is just with the official reason given being these trans athletes is just so stupid. Discrimination under the guise of DEI has permeated every level of our society, Dillon told lawmakers on Wednesday. When I hear the words or the slogan DEI, what I hear is discrimination, exclusion, and intolerance. So one way I've heard the conservative mindset described, and I think this sort of leans into that, is the idea that many on the left, quote unquote, I hate using that term, but many who see themselves as more left-leaning or progressive are against the concept of hierarchy. And generally speaking, they don't believe that the hierarchy is a good thing, that it's not natural, and that conservatives do believe that the hierarchy is a natural thing. And liberals are, taking this natural hierarchy and trying to sneak people into different parts of the hierarchy. Somebody that should be in a lower part of the hierarchy, they're trying to sneak them up to the top based on race or them being transgender or whatever. Maybe I'll add the insert clip of whatever I was talking about here.
Conservatives generally feel what's wrong with the world today can be chalked up to people not being where they should be in the social order. They used to be where they belonged, but then liberals gummed everything up with their government handouts and forced representation.
Earlier this year, Dillon rescinded most of the investigative findings issued by the division during President Joe Biden's tenure, which documented widespread civil rights abuses by police departments against predominantly people of color or people with disabilities. She also nixed 2 pending court-approved settlements to implement reforms with the Minneapolis and Louisville police departments following the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. The division's leadership has also ordered career staff to dismiss a variety of other ongoing civil rights cases involving discrimination against people of color, while simultaneously pursuing probes against jurisdictions and institutions it accuses of improperly implementing DEI policies on everything from college admissions to hiring. The division's leadership has also ordered career staff to dismiss a variety of other ongoing civil rights cases involving discrimination against people of color, while simultaneously pursuing probes against jurisdictions and institutions it accuses of improperly implementing DEI policies. To me, this is sort of like the last story. Like, if you were trying to act in good, like if you were acting in good faith, right? And you really think that these DEI policies are terrible and that you want to use the division's power to go after them, I would be extremely worried about diverting resources away from civil rights cases because of the PR-ness of it, right? If I was legitimately interested, if I legitimately thought that these DEI policies were bad and I wanted to like use the division to go after them and try and dampen their effect in institutions and whatnot, I would be super worried about people arguing that I'm just being racist, basically, because I dropped civil rights cases at the same time, right? I would, if this was me, if I was trying to like at least make it seem like I'm acting in good faith, I would go after these DEI policies like they're saying, but also keep the civil rights cases that, you know, about discrimination against people of color, keep those ongoing and probably even amplify them. Right, but the fact that they're diverting resources and telling career staff to dismiss a variety of other ongoing civil rights cases to me makes me want to lean more towards the xenophobia, towards the racism angle. Makes me want to lean more towards they just don't like brown people. The fact that they have ordered career staff to dismiss a variety of other ongoing civil rights cases at the same time that they're doing this does to me make me want to lean more towards the xenophobia, racism angle of all of this. Dillon and some of the division's other politically appointed attorneys have taken the unusual step of publicly announcing the targets of various employment discrimination probes, such as the University of California and George Mason University, over DEI policies or anti-Semitism. On Wednesday, Dillon told lawmakers that many of her office's investigations are being spawned by whistleblowers and the general public. Since April, she said her office has opened investigations into 15 universities, 16 top law schools, and 7 medical schools over their admissions processes. So yeah, this shouldn't be surprising. I mean, my understanding was that there was another exodus from the DOJ whenever they did that whole Watergate 2 thing, where they basically had another Watergate with Mayor Eric Adams from New York, and they made a back-end deal that they would drop his corruption charges that the Biden administration had brought against him if he supported Trump's immigration policies during the campaign leading up to him being elected in 2024. My understanding was that a whole bunch of the DOJ attorneys and whatnot resigned over that. And so it seems like more and more just lunacy is going on at the DOJ, and they're losing all of these career attorneys. I just can't help but feeling like the Republicans are changing the rules, man. They're changing the rules of the metagame, and that Democrats need to recognize the rule changes in the metagame and act accordingly.